Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ecommerce Marketing Chats with myself, Charles, and the main man, Jimmy. Jimmy, how's it going, mate?
Good, mate. What's news on your end?
Well, about 15 minutes ago, as I was just saying to you, I had a full pest control team at my apartment. Yeah, we've unfortunately got bed bugs, so they've had to remove the whole bed and everything. So I wasn't sure actually if I was going to make the call tonight, but they're
Yeah,
coming back another
commitment
day.
to the show. The message 5 minutes before, mate. The pest control's gone. We're good to go. Let's do
Yeah,
it. So here we
yeah,
are.
yeah. So that's all
Another
good.
another week in e-commerce. I think a lot's happening at the moment. So especially from my side, I'm having to learn new things, which is I wouldn't say it's necessary for the Google Ads management stuff that I do, but for some of the consulting, I think it's really important to kind of be on top of this wave that's coming at the moment with the AI search, and it's evolving really quickly. So I think that's one big topic that we'll cover tonight. Another one is I might dive a little bit into client side tonight too, and I actually had a client return after 2 months. So they stopped their Google Ads management service, and then now 2 months later they're back, and it does happen occasionally. But yeah, I'll go into why they stopped and kind of what businesses and what I learned from it too, and what other businesses can take from it too in terms of what they need to manage, what they need to look out for, and those type of things as well. I think just from our conversations this week, Charles, I think you've had kind of some trademark issues pop up. I probably, I,
Yeah,
we might touch on that. I don't want to go too deep into that because neither of us are lawyers. So it's like, but
yeah.
I guess we can talk about what businesses do and what our clients have done and that kind of thing as well. And I can talk about it from a Google Ads sense as well, because a lot of questions that I get is, hey, this competitor's showing up when I type in my brand name. How do I stop that happening? So I'll dive into that. And yeah, what else has been happening on your side from the ecom side? I think those topics alone will cover us throughout the show, but there's probably a few other things popping up in your world, especially at the moment on the SEO side and kind of this AI search engine optimization as well.
Yeah, no, I was just, and I think it's probably worth us having a look through and sharing. I can share my screen. I was reading through an AHREFS study that they did recently on AI overviews and how to rank on AI overviews, which I think crosses over quite a lot with ChatGPT search. So I think there's plenty of talking points there. Um, I've also been building out a brand new personal brand site using Bolt.new, and I've been absolutely like just it still blows my mind just how good it is. Like, no joke, I think if I'd have gone to an agency, um, they would have probably quoted me about $5,000 US dollars. It's and even with even if you were going through like a freelancer and going on to Upwork and you wanted the same level of quality, it's probably gonna still it would have still cost me maybe 2-3 thousand, and I've been able to build it for pretty much the cost of the subscription, which is $20 a month, um, and then using Claude.ai for the copy. Um, so yeah, it's it's incredible what you can do, and yeah, we can go through that. I think it's not as relevant for e-commerce stores because I do think, and I think you probably agree with me, Jimmy, that Shopify is still the platform when it comes to e-commerce. It's more complex when you're building out a store, but certainly if you've got a service-based business or you're a service provider or agency, I would question whether WordPress is the right play now. I think there's far superior tools and you can do a lot of it yourself and save a lot of money in the process.
Yeah, no,
So,
I would
yeah,
agree with that. I think my business side is on WordPress at the moment, and honestly, I'm looking at moving it. I think the pulling factor from WordPress early on was how SEO friendly it was, especially
yeah,
for personal blogs and that regard. But I mean, you saw a marketplace site that I built out using AI the other week, Charles, and I asked the AI to put in the relevant SEO meta fields so I could fill that out. So all those were put in there. It's just a matter of asking the AI now to put those fields in there. Whereas before you would have had to get an app, as in Shopify, as in WordPress. Most people are using an app called Yoast for their SEO on WordPress, but yeah, it's the AI there has changed the game. I will say this actually. So I am using Cursor.ai for my code editing stuff, and I had an issue on a Shopify site this week, and I couldn't quite figure out how to fix it. What was happening was on the predictive search, when you went to add to cart from the predictive search on the search bar, it was just adding the very first product for a particular collection. So the first product we had listed on the site, no matter what product you added to the cart, it was just adding the same product all the time. And the only reason it was picked up was because someone emailed the client and said, "Hey, I'm clicking on this product, but it's adding a different one to the cart." And I thought it was just me, but I wanted to show you guys. And then the owner actually said, "Actually, we had someone the other day say when we sent out this product, oh, I didn't order that, but I've checked the order and it said that I did." So what was happening is they were adding it to cart and then not checking the cart at checkout, and they were getting sent the wrong item. To be honest, though, not too many people were using that kind of predictive search add to cart. But yeah, it's still something that I needed to fix. So what you can do in Shopify is you can actually download the theme code. So you can go into the website editor and download the whole theme code, and then I put that whole website into Cursor and basically said, "This is the issue. Which files do I need to change?" And I didn't want them to change the files locally. I wanted them to analyze the whole site and tell me where the issue was so I could go back and make the edits on the web app itself. Because sometimes with the AI code editors, they get a bit carried away and they edit stuff that you don't necessarily want edited. So I wanted them, one, to explain to me what you're editing, how you're editing it, and then don't make any of the changes, but just tell me which files you found the errors in so I can go make the changes and then know what I need to reverse if it doesn't work. So that actually has been a really good kind of way to download someone's site and find out what issues there are through AI as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think maybe they do. Bolt.new has that capability. I'm not sure if you can upload complete folders, or whether it just builds code from scratch. I have experimented with Bolt, but it was like in the early days when it was kind of just released. I think it's come a long way since then. But yeah, my primary tool at the moment is Cursor for kind of the code AI editing stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, so you can build sites like Charles said on Bolt.new, but it can be relevant to e-commerce too, especially if you've got problems with your Shopify store. You can download the whole theme file and put it in Cursor AI and start to diagnose the issues there.
Yeah. It's incredible what you can do now. And like I said, we're only still at the start. It's only going to get better as time goes on. So I know even since when Bolt.new kind of came out and I used it for the first time, it wasn't anywhere near as good as it is now. And I'm sure, in 12 months' time, there'll be more enhancements on it as well. So yeah, future is certainly going to be an interesting one.
I have a friend who's really switched on. He runs a really kind of big business in the UK, and he was experimenting with some of these code editors, and I asked him what he went through, and I think he was experimenting with like Bolt or Replit or something like that. I can't remember the exact one he chose, but the reason he chose it was because of the live editor. Like the code was coding and they could see the changes live, like as
Yeah.
it was coding. Cursor doesn't have that at the moment. You can build locally and then just refresh the local page to see the changes. But I think that's kind of a sticking point for some people at the moment, not having that feature. But I can't imagine it's too far off if even if they're planning on adding it. But it hasn't been a massive drawback for the stuff that I've done, but it would be nice just to see the code change and then see it change on the web, like on a live view kind of
Yeah, that's
instantly
what
too.
Bolt.new does at the moment.
Mm,
So you make the changes, click enter, and then it will refresh the kind of window next on the right side of it. So, yeah, I think probably Bolt.new is probably more for those that are kind of less technical. Whereas Cursor, there's probably more advanced features. Like I
yeah, I
don't
think that's what
think,
I've heard too.
yeah, like I'm not sure that Bolt.new can analyze a whole Shopify store.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, it depends where you're at. But if you want, for me, if you want like to just take, a normal static website, whether it's kind of an agency website, personal brand site, any kind of service-based business where the functionality is pretty basic and it just involves contact forms and service pages, then I think Bolt.new is yeah, one of the best out there right now.
yeah, I would go with that too. I think yeah, if you are a little bit more technically minded and you want to get into kind of React sites, and I use Cursor to build a lot of Google Ads scripts, and the live preview wouldn't work for that anyway because you have to build the script and then put it into Google Ads and run it to see if it works or not. So you can't actually test it on, you wouldn't be able to test it on any platform other than Google Ads. So the kind of live view hasn't been that important to me. But yeah, if you, sorry, I am losing my voice tonight. So if you guys can hear that, I apologize. But yeah, if you want to experiment with builders, I think just start with Bolt.new if you want to see what it can do real quickly. And then if you do get a little bit more into it, I do think that Cursor is what my mentor is using in the space. And like he has done some pretty advanced, cool things with it. And he did mention in one of the calls that Bolt.new, and I think he mentioned Lovable as well. They do have their limitations for certain things, so I haven't looked into them greatly, but yeah, I'm just using Cursor. So Charles is using Bolt.new, I'm using Cursor. So if you want to experiment with a few, go check out those two. Let's get into this article that you saw on AHREFS, Charles, because I'm keen
Yeah.
to. This is kind of what I've been really reading about and kind of looking at this week. This showing up in ChatGPT and the relevant kind of AI models for products, but also the Google AI snippets at the top as well, which I think you just mentioned before too. So I'm keen to find out a little bit more than that. I think I tagged you in a video this week actually about someone that was using the AI snippets and kind of the method they were using to do it. They were basically searching for a keyword, copying the AI snippet that existed already, and then getting AI just to rewrite it in kind of original words, and
Yeah.
then trying to get backlinks from the places that it was referencing originally.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of clever things you can do now. So yeah, this was the article I was reading earlier today, where they basically analyzed some kind of brand visibility factors that was getting sites to rank within that kind of, or cited within that AI overview. Um, so this was really interesting. A lot of this, when you look at say the top three, like biggest ranking signals, it's really brand mentions,
Mm,
brand web mentions, brand anchors, brand search volume. So, almost it's not actually traditional SEO tasks. It leans more into building brand, whether that's through social media, whether that's through digital PR, which obviously you could suggest is a kind of a backlink strategy in itself, but it's still making sure that the brand is the most prominent. Um, and then as you go further down, the DR is the domain rating or their own kind of domain authority score, the number of referring domains, so the number of unique backlinks. Um, but again, branded traffic, number of backlinks, ad traffic. So it's not as much about, on page SEO or even things like schema markup. Um, it seems to be, like I said, that getting your brand out there, becoming more visible is actually, the best way to start showing up for these AI overviews. And I think that ChatGPT search is similar in terms of their kind of ranking signals. However, I've not seen any extensive studies on that yet, so I can't be 100% sure. Um, which,
From what I've read on the ChatGPT stuff, at least this week, I think a lot of people have mentioned that to take on the big players, you really need really search specific intent on AI, and it comes down to it depends on what question is being asked in ChatGPT basically. But say you optimized, I'm just taking a random product, just came to my head. Say you had a fire pit, and you're trying to sell like this steel fire pit on your e-commerce store, but you made the description about how family friendly it is. It's perfect. It's not like you don't get the smoke all blown in your face, and it's perfect for families, cooking marshmallows at night or whatever in the backyard. And then if someone's looking on ChatGPT and they actually, hey, I'm looking for a fireplace that me and my family can sit around and cook some marshmallows, that's where you're really likely to show up in AI, and that's where this is the part I feel interesting. That's really interesting because the product descriptions I feel are going to change dramatically because how many people actually read those manufacturer product descriptions? And so many of them are just filled with fluff. Now it's going
yeah,
to be like, hey, we actually need to really tailor these product descriptions for what people are actually searching for. We're going to niche it down to our kind of exact audience. So if our exact audience, like who this is actually built for, is searching for this product and mentioning these kind of questions, like how can we integrate those into the product description? So everything, and I'll touch on this a little bit more in a minute after you finish the article, but everything from the AI perspective, the brand is still super important. Like they need that authority, but then there's kind of a secondary layer too about the long tail queries and making them as relevant as possible and giving AI information that is so unique that if they were looking to compare it to the other options that are out there, then they were going to pick your option because it's so relevant to what that person just asked.
yeah, for sure. I think it's, from an SEO perspective, it's going to be more, or AI search, whatever you want to call it, or generative. What's the term that we're going with at the moment? It's a
Oh, there's
generative.
a few at the moment. I think
Yeah,
there's like AEO, which is like answer engine optimization, or
yeah.
Geo. I
G
think they were going with too.
GEO, yeah,
Yeah,
generative engine optimization. Yeah, there's a couple.
yeah.
But what I would say is I think, organic search is going to become more, like you said, more about how you can create content to answer questions versus the kind of old school way of let's try and make sure that we've got individual keywords or long tail keyword phrases within the page. So I think it's more about making sure that you're answering questions within a topic to get those questions and answers shown within AI search. I don't know what you think about that, Jimmy.
I completely agree, and it comes back to something else that I was going to mention. I've been reading a lot about smart data points, but I've been reading about, there's a massive list. I've been reading a whole lot, but one of them was kind of comparative data. And when I'm saying comparative data, it could be like a whole range of things, whether it's price, whether it's kind of your competitor's product. But what I found interesting was some people are basically experimenting now with, like you would never mention a competitor in your product description on your site, but people are saying, this is why you choose our in the description. This is why you choose our product over X competitor, um, ba and basically highlighting what they do better straight out against like their main
Yeah,
competitors. Because one, they're getting the comparative searches then on AI when they're like, um, oh, which brand's better, this brand versus this brand? And then if AI is pulling from your site and you've already got a snippet comparison and why yours is better than that, then it's going to give you a bit of a foot up in those AI searches for those comparative searches too. So
yeah, good point.
on branded web mentions and branded anchors, I think, especially for e-commerce, what's going to be more important than ever, it's already been important, but what's going to be more important than ever is actually getting reviews through to your brand. So
Yeah,
when the AI era rolls in, which is basically on our doorstep right now, it's very. I said to a client today, I think we've got a 3 month window to be like an early mover in this space, and then, especially before Black Friday, a lot of people are going to be using AI searches during that time, and like if you haven't put in a strategy and started optimizing content for AI searches from Black Friday, I think you're gonna notice the brands that have versus the brands that haven't. But yeah, this comparative data is very interesting, and the reviews from even the snippets that I've seen that are people putting in their product description, they're actually writing about their reviews. Like we have X amount of reviews over this product, and this is they're actually putting testimonials in product descriptions now too. Like they're trying to they're trying to provide AI basically everything that it would need to say, hey, this is the product that we want to show.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It really is. Um, so yeah, these are a couple of kind of top level assessments from this report. So yeah, as we talked about, brand web mentions show the strongest correlation with AI overview brand visibility. Uh, Web mentions correlate much more strongly than backlinks, which, you know, with traditional, Google search, that hasn't always been the case. Yes, brand mentions are important, but if you don't have the backlink, an actual, within the publisher's page, then you don't get that kind of SEO juice and value. Um, the top three correlations are all off-site factors, so no mentions of kind of on-page SEO.
Yeah,
Even
just so people know, Charles, again, this is specifically for the AI snippets on Google, right?
yes,
This
yes, that's
isn't
true.
just so people, because we've kind of just been talking about both, and I was talking about ChatGPT. So just people are fully aware again, the article that Charles is reading is specifically referring to the AI snippets that show up in Google, but
Yeah,
also mentioning that it's probably got some overlay on ChatGPT as well.
yeah. And I think it mentions in this as we scroll down, it's important to note, especially for e-commerce, that actually AI overviews are showing up for more informational queries. So it actually mentions specifically, I think, that uh, like if it's product pages or collection pages, and people are searching for particular products, they're not getting AI overviews, which I think is a positive thing for
I also think
e-commerce stores.
I think it's Google's golden goose. Like, why would they be giving, unless they're doing paid ad placements in those snippets, which they're not currently, but it's
Yeah,
probably going to come. I think you will notice products once they've got kind of a paid placement in there, but why would they be putting links to products in there when they've got the shopping ads right above that for product searches? This is where ChatGPT is different because if you're asking ChatGPT about a specific product, it's going to show you those specific products like Google would in a shopping ad.
yeah, yeah. And well, I mean, this one's interesting to note. 26% of brands have zero mentions in AI overviews. So, you know, I think having at least having somewhat of an AI strategy in place is certainly going to help for kind of brand visibility. Um,
Yeah. With the brand mentions, I was reading a bit about this as well today, and even seeing some of the citations that the AI platforms were referencing, a lot of them were going off Reddit threads, which I would say the majority of my clients aren't even on Reddit at all. But I think if you really want to leverage what's coming, I think it would be good to have a brand presence on Reddit.
Yep.
It's not something that's spoken about a lot, but like if I was running an e-commerce store, I'd be wanting to be active on Reddit, set up my own subreddit for my business and talk about, you know, the products that you sell or whatnot. But yeah, I saw a lot of mentions from Reddit. It's also, if you're not sure if you're even showing up in AI, another thing to do is go into your Google Analytics and have a look at the traffic sources and search for ChatGPT or whatever AI platform you're trying to rank for, and actually see how much traffic you're getting at the moment. I would say for my clients, it's not a huge amount at the moment, but I was showing Charles earlier this week, kind of the conversion rates that come from ChatGPT. One client was converting it at 11%, which is basically double to triple kind of any other traffic source. I think the only other traffic source that was kind of on par with it was the email marketing, and that's sending them to a sales kind of specific page for that particular client. So yeah, there's a huge trust factor in AI recommendations at the moment. So it's why it's important to make your product descriptions and everything else as relevant as possible for what someone might be looking for. Especially when, for example, I was looking at kids' shoes the other day, and um, my son kind of has like inward pointing feet, and like he's got big feet too, so he needs kind of a high top shoe, a high top kid shoe because it helps his walking stability. But he also needs a shoe with a large toe box too. But it can't be like flimsy material either. It has to be quite supportive. So the podiatrist actually recommended him like I forget what they were, but they were like the Nike Air Force Ones or something, like the high
Mm.
top ones. I didn't get him those because he destroys his shoes in like 2 weeks. So he'd be um he'd be sending my business into the negatives if I needed to buy them every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need good quality material, and Google, you search that and it just brings up a whole bunch of random kids' shoes. But when you do it in AI, they're looking deeper into that and looking at reviews and looking what people are saying about it. And then it's actually giving you products based on exactly what you search, not just who's paying the most in ads and showing those first.
It's a much, you know, it's just a far superior search experience, isn't it? Um, versus, traditional Google search where, like you said, you're often getting shown whoever's paying the most for ads or whoever's the best when it comes to, optimizing their website for traditional SEO. So,
The thing with
um,
so I think you've probably seen it as well, Charles, but I've seen a lot of businesses say how their like organic search has really dropped off since like 12 months ago. And I think like a significant portion of that would be the AI snippets on the top of Google taking a lot of traffic. But I also think when you want to buy something, the go-to used to be Google, and then you'd search like 10 different sites. So you've visited 10 sites and then to kind of find the information that you want. AI is taking away the need to do that research
yeah,
because it's doing the research for you. And then, at least in my own experience, it's been okay, I'm going to use AI to do the research so I kind of know what I'm looking for. And then you go back to Google almost for kind of a price comparison type thing. Or if that's me specifically, I'm a bit, I like to get the best deal, but some people would just go on AI and just, go through and make that purchase based on its recommendation. They're not interested in price shopping. So there's, different shoppers on that too. But yeah, I think it's like organic search is definitely like I wouldn't say it's dropping off for every business, but you're having to do a lot more at the moment to kind of maintain your organic search numbers.
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and I'm seeing, I am seeing that with with my clients as well is, sometimes we're still in the top positions, but if you compare the traffic and click through rate from like this year to last year, it's less, even though we've not, that they've not dropped off with regards to individual keyword rankings. Um, One thing I would say though about ChatGPT, and I've noticed it in my own searches, is you do have to. I do find I'm cross-checking it on Google
Me too.
because I've seen, I've used it and I've experienced some examples where the information is wildly inaccurate. Like I was looking at some uh, specifically an example. I was using it for looking at visa options, and like one of the countries are saying that, oh yeah, you need to invest like $56,000 into a property, and then the next search I did, it said actually no, it's $560,000.
Yeah,
So it's like completely,
it's a big difference.
it's not like it was a small difference. It's like 10 times different. So yeah, you do. I have,
I have noticed
yeah,
it as well when we actually bought a dryer the other week and I started the research on ChatGPT, but because we were going to put it on top of a bench, we needed one with like really specific measurements because if it was too big, it was going to fall off the bench. So, and because the bench wasn't that big, we were really limited into what we could get. So, I was doing the research on ChatGPT and it's like, oh yeah, this one looks good, this will fit. And then I went to the actual site, and the measurements that they gave me were completely wrong. So, it's, so you're right. You just still need to cross check. I have found though, like more often than not, the information's been quite reliable. But yeah, if especially if it's a long, like towards the end of their chat, I find AI is kind of going to hallucination mode the longer the reply is.
yeah. Yeah, I guess that's Google's biggest competitive advantage still. It's like they've got so much data. Um, yeah, I don't know the difference between how they're actually extracting that
I think that
data, but
bridge will be that like especially for e-commerce that bridge will be gapped really soon. I mean, ChatGPT's already put out the feelers to register for interest for submitting your own product feed directly to them, so that'll
yeah,
fix that issue with the specs almost instantly. But I wasn't actually even aware of this, but I read today that Perplexity actually have a deal with Shopify, so they have access to all Shopify's feeds currently. So that's like where Perplexity is getting a lot of their data sets from for their product searches. It's coming direct from the Shopify API, as far as I'm aware. I've only just touched on reading that today, so yeah, it's an interesting one to note as well. But a lot of people are saying that if Perplexity's got that deal with Shopify, ChatGPT probably isn't far off getting a similar type arrangement, I would say.
yeah. I mean, Shopify, you know, credit to them. They've been very forward thinking and they're constantly making moves. I've seen them the other week where they've made a partnership with Circle USDC, so they're trying to get uh, digital currency payments included within their platform, and they're seeing kind of they're very good at spotting trends and knowing what the future is, and partnering with the right companies, um, which
I agree.
compared to something like WordPress,
WooCommerce on
yeah,
WordPress, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So you can certainly see that they're going to continue to kind of dominate the website builds for e-commerce,
I
at least
agree,
for the
but
foreseeable future.
it's also quite scary one platform having that much dominance because it gets to a point where they can start increasing prices significantly, and you've got
Yeah,
no real alternative to turn to if that's the case. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Let's get through this article so we can just
yeah.
cover off the main things.
Let's try
What
and
are the
get a
main
few.
things in here?
So I mean, we talked a bit about this. We talked about brand web mentions. I mean, this piece basically just summarizes what we've talked about. So your brand web presence is everywhere. Off-site factors seem to be the biggest ranking factor, whereas compared to Google search, it's one pillar of a strategy. Um, there was a few other interesting. So yeah, what it's really saying here is that you know, link building, or certainly traditional link building, um, doesn't really have a strong of impact. Um,
Yeah,
but then you could say brand
what are they?
mentions is
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly. I was just about to say that. I was like, what do they mean by link building? Is it just like building random links? Because everything I'm seeing is if you can get featured in like a high authority article, then it's going to have a massive impact on the AI
I think that's the
searches.
difference. It's like
Hmm.
if you just want to get shown on, a bunch of low quality sites, that's probably not going to move the needle. But that doesn't really move the needle anymore in Google search either, in traditional. So I think it all comes back to kind of getting yourself featured in high quality publications, but making sure that probably the links that you get, the anchor text, what the copy on the page where you get the link mentions your brand.
Yeah.
Or maybe it doesn't even have to be the link. It just mentions your brand on the page, and it's more, yeah, about kind of brand building, rather than sometimes with you know random guest blogs. If you're getting links, you might just get a random word linked
Yeah.
to your website, and that's probably not going to do anything. Um, so, so it's got branded traffic matters, but not as much as you think. Branded traffic is the
For those that are listening and not watching, Charles is just quickly scrolling down on the article just to see if there's any main points here that we want to bring
yeah
up on this particular article. We'll leave this article link in the show notes
yeah
as well, just so people can reference it quickly if they want to have a quick look. But yeah, I think I've read a lot of articles on this stuff just this week. I want to know what people are trying, but I also want to know, when you read articles and you just get that one golden idea and you're like, yeah, that's good. That's how I want to approach this. Um, so I'm working with a supplement company at the moment, but it's owned by two naturopaths, and they've got a real leg up for this kind of authoritative opinion on each of their products that they have that's not leveraged in the product description, which after everything that I've seen this week, I kind of really want to pivot to having their opinion on every product.
yeah yeah. It's got here. This was like leaked internal documents suggest that Google's web ranking systems also consider user interaction data like traffic, user behavior signals. So for me, that kind of suggests that good user experience, good navigation, like kind of design, the way the site looks and how people can navigate around the site, looking at things like time on page, bounce rate potentially. Um, but still seems to suggest that brand mentions, probably good quality link building is the strongest metric for ranking for these AI overviews. What's interesting, it's not mentioned about content yet. Actually, like how you write content. I mean, I was reading something the other day from I think it was Matt Diggerty, who's quite a well-respected SEO guy, and
Yeah,
he mentioned about having like a clear summary at the beginning of your kind of blog articles or guides to basically summarize the article well, so that you get given the opportunity to rank on AI overviews.
yeah, that
So
makes
right
sense.
right at the top of the page. I mean, FAQs is another thing. I'm I'm actually building out a kind of blog design structure for my personal brand site, and I've got linkable table of content, so you can scroll down to the relevant sections, video, FAQs at the bottom, but in its own kind of frame as such, like design frame. Because I think, again, answering questions and giving precise, clear answers is going to be, a clear ranking signal in my opinion. Doesn't seem to suggest that you can pay for them though at the moment. I reckon they'll probably introduce that at some point.
Oh, me too. If
It's
there's a
just,
link in those, um, if there's a link in those things eventually, like a
yeah,
really visible, clickable link, I think Google will be charging you for that at some point, without a doubt.
100%. Um, okay, so I mean, that's a pretty clear sign. Brands with top web mentions earn up to 10x more AI mentions. So, yeah,
And I think
it's
I've noticed that in e-com already. Like a lot of the main kind of product cards of from Amazon and kind of big retailers already. So yeah, people are going to have to do some work to get into there. So um, for a note as well, I mentioned the other week for people to get onto Microsoft Ads, not necessarily to run ads, but to use their Merchant Center to upload your feed. So these AIs have another data point to use to potentially find your product, especially ChatGPT, because OpenAI do have a relationship with Microsoft, so it would make sense that they use any data feeds from them that are available. But with Microsoft Ads, I found my clients that have set it up, when they created the account, it basically got suspended as soon as they set it up, like without even doing anything. So before, like, don't get frustrated if you set it up and it's like it's been suspended. I'm not even going to bother about this. It's happening to what seems every second person that signs up. It's ridiculous. It's the worst user experience I've seen. So it suspends the account, and then you have to complete an advertiser identification process, which takes a little while as well. So I uploaded one client's feed on the 13th. It's only today that which is we're filming on the 24th. So 11 days later, like the feed's starting to get active products in there. So if you're looking for a quick turnaround on Microsoft Ads, like don't hold your breath. So
yeah,
when you do go to set it up, just know that it's probably going to be a bit of a frustrating, much more manual process than Google to get that all set up and going.
yeah, it's good to know. It's good to know. So a nice little plug here from AHREFS in terms of using their AHREFS brand radar.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't. I've seen a few of these tools, but they're like $400-500 a month each. I'm like, oh, I'm not that desperate to know at the moment.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about AHREFS SEM Rush. It's like you pay even with the paid plans. I'm subscribed to AHREFS at the moment, and it's got most of the features, but this brand radar is not included in the package where I'm paying nearly $150 a month. Um, so yeah, they do like to get you on the upsells, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, but yeah, I think that's kind of pretty much what they got here.
What else could you do for like brand mentions? Surely you could just go Google Trends or something like that, or um,
Yeah, I mean that will certainly give you an idea of where you're being mentioned. Um, there are a couple of I was actually experimenting with a couple of sites. I was speaking to a digital PR specialist in the week, and I can't remember. There's one site called Featured, I think it is, and Quoted, but with a W, not a U. And these are kind of like uh, sites where you can get linked up with publishers basically. So publishers will say, look, well, I'm looking for some opinions on, this particular subject. I need someone with this experience. Would you mind giving a quote? A little bit like what Harrow was. So it was like
Yeah, I was
help
just
out
about to
the,
say that.
yeah.
Help a
So
reporter
those
out
seem
or
to be the
something.
new ones. Um,
Yeah, okay.
and that's where I would be looking at. I was, like I said, I was having a conversation with this guy in the week, and we kind of both agreed that, like, he used to do kind of old style link building of like guest blogs, and guest blogs can kind of still have some impact, but really, I think the links that really move the needle are kind of strong digital PR links, on proper publications that have got real traffic. Um, Ideally, you want to be getting links from sites that are within your niche as well, so they're kind of more industry relevant.
Yeah.
Um,
I think for the brand stuff, I think based on this conversation, I'd probably be focusing on two parts at the moment. I'd be working on my business reviews, like getting on
yeah,
as many review platforms as I can, especially if you've got a good product that is getting good reviews. And the other one is I would start a Reddit community around your brand, get people talking about it, not necessarily about the brand. Like, for example, if you're let's say you got a protein powder, I might start joining like, bodybuilding communities or something like that. Find your niche, what they like, and then, you know, Reddit's hard. You have to do it really delicately. They don't like promotion on there, so when you do
yeah,
it, you have to do it quite delicately. Um, I know people use the strategy of posting initially and then waiting, like if they post a thread initially, waiting 5 days and then adding the link in afterwards, so the moderators aren't cutting it out. But yeah, doing well on Reddit's a whole nother topic in itself. But and Quora as well. Quora is a good one to get onto. So I would get on those two platforms. So get your brand mentioned in some capacity on those two platforms and start working on your business reviews. And I think over the next couple of weeks we could be going into a lot more depth on kind of the content that they're changing on product pages and things like that based on what's actually working for us. At the moment, I'm just
yeah.
talking about what we're starting to test at the moment in terms of more relevant queries like comparison data, more smart data points to basically feed AI what it would need for kind of these unique queries, I think, for the AI search at the moment.
Yeah, no, there's some really good points there. Yeah, Reddit and Quora seem to certainly show up. And these platforms like Google and ChatGPT are still giving them a lot of relevancy, even though, yeah, I'd question how legitimate or accurate some of the
Yeah, yeah.
information is on these sites. But there you go.
Mm.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think having a Reddit strategy in place is worthwhile for sure.
Is that article done, Charles, or is there
Yeah, I think
anything
we're
else?
done. So shout out to Louise Lynham, whoever you are. Good article that. Cool.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I think
Well,
we'll definitely be discussing AI kind of search in a lot more depth coming up. I think Charles and I actually have a call booked this Friday to basically speak specifically on this topic, and we're basically going through a week of research and reporting back on what we found. I think that's so important too. Like if you're in an industry and you've got some good friends and they're working on the same thing as you, have a catch up with them and see what they've learned, and you can share what you've learned, and everyone like grows quicker together. Mr. Beast has spoken about it before in his video where he used to speak when he was starting out on YouTube. He had four other people that he would speak to for like 16 hours a day, sometimes for months, and they were just talking about thumbnails, like cadence, like video speed, like what's working. Like he broke that down to a science. But he's not successful by mistake. Let's put it that way. He's put in the work, but he said previously in podcasts, doing that with four people, I was able to, learn the mistakes of four people, so I didn't have to go and make them myself. And it basically streamlined his success like tenfold just by being able to have that group. I think this is a very similar situation where it's quite new. People are testing, seeing what sticks, seeing what works, and then if you can do that with some other people, you're gonna have a leg up on people just trying to do it by themselves.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, there's the quote, no man is an island. It's we need to, and I think actually that's where agencies typically have done things better. Even if you're selling the same service, you tend to be able to have those collaborations. Whereas I find with kind of e-commerce stores, if you're, certainly if you're in the same industry, you're like, oh, I don't want to be telling them what we're up to. I would say even if you don't want to kind of share what you're doing with other e-commerce stores in your industry, at least start connecting with e-commerce store owners in different industries
Yeah, I
so that
agree.
you're not competing, and then you can then take inspiration from completely different industries, which often can cross over to what you're doing.
100%. I think one of the other things I wanted to talk about on this call was a client that came back after 2 months, and to be honest, I had a really good working relationship with them. So like that working relationship was finalized on really good terms, and I was actually really surprised that they cancelled because Google Ads was bringing in between 50 and 60% of their revenue every month from various attribution sources. So I said to them, "Oh, do you want me to turn off the ads, or is the person that's taking over from me going to, manage them?" And they're like, "Oh no, turn it off. We're not replacing you. We're just stopping Google Ads completely." I, I was like, "Wow, okay." And then so they were doing about 180K a month, and then the last 2 months they've done around 60 to 70K a month. So they've had a pretty significant drop off from the Google Ads, and then I actually had a call from them about 2 days ago, and they just said, "Oh, hey Jimmy, like we're wanting to, the website business has dropped off considerably, and we're just wanting to re-engage the services." I'm like, "What happened? Like, why did you guys decide to?" I probably should have had this conversation with them when they left, but I'm like, "Why did you guys decide to cancel in the first place?" And she said, "Well, we had a marketing manager in here that basically who was overseeing all the performance stuff, and basically they hadn't shown up into the office for the last 6 months, and you know the business have ended up letting them go, and we didn't really have anyone with experience to manage the performance side of things, so we decided to pause that side of the business to see what the impact would be." And I laughed and I said, "Oh well, you found out what that impact was pretty quickly." And she laughed too. But yeah, I think important lessons that I took from that. Like I needed to communicate a little bit better, like how important this was to their business because I could see it in the data. But at the same time, like it's all attribution models, and you're never like 100% certain. Like I'm making a really significant difference for this business. Like I knew I was definitely making a significant impact, but like that 50 to 60%, like I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure it would be that high if I turned off the ads," but it was that high. And what I took from it is, okay, I need to communicate just the importance of this, and I left on really good terms. I think a lot of people that work with agencies leave on like really sour terms, like they've had a bad relationship or an argument over something, and I like try not to operate like that. I mean, you can't please absolutely everybody, but I try my best, but like sometimes people's expectations are just they want to call you every 3 hours. I was like, I can't, like, I'm a freelancer. I've got other things to work on. I can't be answering your calls like all day, every day. Like, I've got my email, and, in our agreement, I'll reply to those emails within 24 hours, but like, I'm not on call. Like, unless it's an emergency, unless your website's down, you need your ads turned off, or something's gone haywire. It's unfortunately, I'm not like on call. Like a lot of my clients will call me and they don't do it very often, so I will pick up. But some people abuse that privilege, and you've just got to kind of set your scope and boundaries around that. But yeah, I think important lesson for me: communicate your worth. Like just when they were leaving, I would have just said, oh, it's disappointing that this working arrangement's coming to an end. I just wanted to, highlight that, you know, Google Ads is bringing in like 50 to 60% of your like attributed revenue on your store currently. So, if there is a big drop off and you are wanting to re-engage, always feel free to work out, which is what ended up happening in the end. But I didn't have that conversation with them initially. So I probably should have. So, um, yeah, definitely some learning things for me, but also I was just so confused that they wanted to stop, and it took me by surprise because I've been working with them for a while, and we've been getting some really good results. So it it was just the email that they sent me initially was like it wasn't like a conversation, like they didn't want to have a conversation about it. It was, hey Jimmy, like internally we've had to make some decisions, and at this date we're finalizing the agreement. I was just like, okay, it's been awesome to work with you guys. If you need anything in the future, feel free to reach out. So that was kind of the conversation that I had, but yeah, now they're back. So yeah, I think it's like really important just to maintain good relationships in kind of all business dealings that you do with. But also, if you're not getting the results that you want, don't be afraid to leave. Don't be afraid to make a change. I've seen some really successful businesses change agencies quite regularly. So they change agencies, and as soon as results start to stagnate, they look for another one with a different angle, that's going to try different things. So that does have its pros and cons because you can go out looking for a new one, and they can do 10 times worse than what you had previously, and it sets you back a long way. So I wouldn't recommend doing that, but it does have its pros and cons. But yeah, so yeah, an interesting one for me on client side this week.
Guess it just shows it shows the importance of your services, doesn't it, really? And the
Mm.
value you provide. And, I think e-commerce stores need to know, I guess, when they've hired the right people and not be too quick to to cut them off. But I think you did the right thing. And like you said,
Yeah, but it
don't
wasn't
burn
like
those bridges.
Yeah, definitely. And it wasn't like they cut me off to replace me. They were just stopping the ads completely. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but the other thing we mentioned at the start of the show, Charles, that I'll just touch on real quickly because we're coming up to the hour, was just trademarks, especially in Google Ads. So what people don't realize is you can bid on trademarks. You just can't put the trademark in your ad copy. So, for example, if you were um, just say you were offering a Google Ads service. Like you can bid on Google Ads services, but you can't put Google Ads in your ad copy. Uh, you can't put the word Google in your ad copy because it's a trademark term. They won't let you do it. So if you do look up Google Ads management, a lot of the ads that you'll see will say like PPC management or ads like paid ads management. Um, Occasionally you'll get one that will have Google in it. They've got through that gate temporarily, but it never lasts long. But in terms of like trademarking on terms in ads, you can definitely bid on competitors like brand names, trademarked keywords. You can bid on all those. You just can't display them in your ads. What I will say is like a lot of starting up brands don't actually trademark um, like their brand name. Like especially startups that are doing well or new, they won't actually have the trademark for their name. So they can send you like a cease and desist saying, oh, this is our brand name. But if they don't have the trademark, then you can advertise it, you can put their brand name in your ad copy, whether they like it or not. Um, might not be as ethically sound. But I mean, if you're doing a comparison ad, then you're well in your rights to do that if they don't have the trademark. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, certainly an interesting, like we were talking about before the call. I've had a little bit of an incident this week with one of my clients getting a letter from the brand that they sell. Now they're not actually selling the official manufacturer's um, parts. They're selling, replicas as such, um, which many companies do within their industry. But I think the main brand manufacturer was just not happy that they were their pages were showing up and they were in some occasions getting outranked. Um, so yeah, you do have to be careful with what kind of
yeah,
keywords
yeah.
and
That
terms you use.
yeah, that stuff you have to be a bit more careful because it's actually their brand name on your website, and then you have to figure out, you know, you definitely get legal advice because in Charles's situation, it'd be like the equivalent of, I'm trying to think of an equivalent for it, but it'd be like the equivalent of buying like a ring. Like let's say you've got one of those health monitor rings and it's compatible with Samsung Galaxy device. It'd be like a health monitoring ring for compatible with Samsung Galaxy phones. And this particular letter that Charles got, in the case, it'd be like it'd be Samsung saying, "Hey, don't use Samsung Galaxy in your product title." That's kind of the equivalent of what it would be. So yeah, it's a bit of a grey area, and I'm not going to touch on it extensively because I don't actually know the laws around it, and it's probably honestly it's probably different country to country. So,
Yeah, I think
um,
there's some subtle differences. Like you said, I think it's if you're suggesting that it's the official brand rather than compatible with or suits
yeah,
this particular brand, um, that's probably what they're not so happy about. So, but like you said, I'm the
yeah,
same. I don't get involved in the legalities of it. My client has a legal team in there, and I just provide my recommendations from an SEO perspective. And
yeah, it makes sense.
yeah, so yeah, interesting one. I've not had that before, but certainly an interesting scenario. Might be a lot of product title changes, I think, in the next month. But
Yeah, do them slowly. Just tell them,
yeah,
yeah, sorry, guys, we only have capacity to fix five a day.
yeah, I'm not sure they've got that much time, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
to be fair,
Uh,
there's some good things we can do with AI, and yeah, I can get someone to help with uploading them and stuff. So
Sweet.
it's all good.
All right,
Cool.
guys. Well, we've come to the hour, so if you want to check out more, go to on Facebook. Check out Shopify Marketing Secrets, e-commerce marketing chats on YouTube, and you can reach Charles and I in the Facebook group or on LinkedIn. So, thanks for tuning in for another episode, guys, and we'll catch you next week.
Cheers, guys.